Welcome back to another episode of Bassing with Captain Lou. Today I am going to be talking to you guys about hollow body frog fishing summer strategies. Stick around, there's going to be a lot of fun catches, but I'm going to be sharing with you guys some important information, and if you stick around to the end of this video, I'm going to explain to you guys today's strategy and also the #1 modification that I do on my hollow body frogs that I really feel that helps me get those extra bites. Frog popped out right at the boat. This is a beautiful fish right here. Okay, summertime frog fishing. It's not for everybody. The heat right now is unbelievable. Our heat and humidity has been off the charts. Water levels are extremely high. And if you time your day correctly, you're gonna have a lot of fun fishing with this hollow body frog. Stick around, I'm gonna go ahead and dive into that information. So when it comes to frog fishing out here in the Everglades during the summertime, it's all about timing. What do I mean by that? Meaning you gotta time the correct part of the day in order for you to have the greater chances of success when using the hollow body frog. And time of day is one of the most important factors during the summertime. Usually you can frog fish all year round, but summertime it gets a little picky and a little tough. So when it comes to frog fishing in the Everglades in the summer, you want to focus your attention on fishing early in the morning or in the evening hours. If you choose to fish at night, that's also a good time to fish as well, but I don't do any night fishing out here in the glades, so it's going to be either early morning or early evening to increase your chances of success. Now, early mornings are very important because it's the coolest part of the day. Our water temperatures are hitting 90+ degrees. That's very, very hot. And the bass get very lethargic as the water gets warmer and warmer. However, like I said, if you time it correctly, you could time a morning feeding window, and the fishing is off the charts, especially if you try to go with the hollow body frog. Your feeding windows are going to be very short, but they're going to be very ferocious, very aggressive, and you might catch yourself a good chunk of bass in a 2-hour window.
Oh yeah, that's a giant. Yep, that's a big one.
That's a big one. That's a big one. Look at the size of this one right here. Look at that hook penetration right at the roof of the mouth. I mean, this is a beautiful fish right here. Now, conditions are very important. If you have the flexibility in your schedule and you can watch the weather, it could also increase your chances of having a great day. I've been watching the weather lately because we did have a hurricane scoot underneath us and go into the Gulf, but it has changed our weather. So today it's very, very overcast. There's a slight breeze, and the area that I'm fishing today also has some current. So it has a lot of movement on the water that helps cool the water off a little bit. And when that feeding window does happen, it may last a little longer because of the conditions. So when it comes to frog fishing, it's just like real estate: location, location, location. It's very important to identify the locations or the spots that are going to get you or increase your chances of catching the most fish. Like I said, if you stay till the end of this video, I'm going to share my #1 strategy on today's outing, and it's going to help you guys out. But as far as general rule of thumb, you're looking for areas that are that have vegetation. You're looking for cover. That's what you're basically looking for. You're looking for cover in the sense of structure or in the sense of vegetation and stuff like that. You're looking for something that looks bassy. So it's something that has a lot of vegetation or a lot of stone or a lot of wood and stuff like that. Those are the type of areas that bass will hang out, and they'll hunker down and just wait things out and wait for the bait or their dinner or their breakfast to come to them. I found at least that when it comes to frog fishing out here in the Everglades in the summertime, the bass are not going to exert a lot of energy to chase after your frog. But if you get within their general area, they will exert a lot of energy exploding on the frog. So when it comes to that, like I said, location is very important. And then once you catch 1 bass, 2 bass, 3 bass, you gotta make mental notes and pay careful attention to where and how that bass hit your frog, okay? Because that's gonna be the clue for the rest of the outing or for the rest of that feeding window. You have to duplicate that. It's very important that you remember that. So not only is the location important for you to maximize your chances of catching a nice bass when it comes to frog fishing, but the equipment that you use is critical. I'm going to be very brief when it comes to this stuff. I'm not going to dive in with a lot of detail, but here are my non-negotiables. You need yourself a very stout rod. And what do I mean by that? I'm talking about a 5-powered medium heavy to a 6-power heavy rod. The minimum length that I prefer is anything from 7 foot to higher. In this case, this is a 7'3". This is actually a 736 Dobbins. This right here is my baby, or one of my babies when it comes to frog fishing. I mean, this rod right here is stout. It pulls fish out of thick cover, and it hasn't let me down when it comes to that type of power. Another non-negotiable for me is the reel. You're looking to get yourself a nice strong reel, and in this case this is a Corrado I, okay? It is a 7-speed. I do not go anything less when it comes to frog fishing, so 7-speed or 8-speed is preferred. And my preferred line, I mean, again, this is a non-negotiable. It has to be braid, guys. Don't try to reinvent the wheel and fish with other types of lines. You gotta be using braid when it comes to frog fishing. And the other thing is, you wanna maximize your chances and not get your heart broken. I would go with a minimum of 50-pound braid. I don't go less than that, and I also don't go more than that. 50 pounds is the sweet spot for me. When it comes to frog fishing. I don't use leaders, I don't do anything else but 100% straight braid when it comes to frog fishing. Now, something that you may notice on my particular reel is that my reel handle is a little bit longer than the traditional reel or the stock reel for this reel, because I'm actually using a Hogtech reel. This is a carbon fiber handle that's 101 millimeters long, and I'm also have much bigger knob handles or reel handles as well. These are big or large septum rods, and the reason for it is because when I frog fish and I'm in that thick vegetation, when that bass hits, I want to have the equipment working in my favor, meaning I want a nice long reel handle so I have a nice strong lever, and I also like big knobs so that my big fingers could get wrapped in there and I could just really horse that bass out of cover. Okay, so now that I covered my non-negotiables, the next area I want to cover, and this is the one that I get asked a lot, is the hook set. When do you hook set when it comes to a bass? Because a lot of us have had our heart broken when it comes to missing beautiful bass. I have had my heart broken. Today I missed 3 gorgeous bass, 2 5-pounders and a 6. I just had come off. I didn't miss them, I actually had them, they just didn't stay buttoned. But the number one question I get is, when do you set the hook? So I'm gonna go ahead and cover that with you guys, because there's a lot of information in regards to when you set the hook out there, and a lot of people, mention, and it's not wrong, is that when you see the blow up and you see that your frog is gone, you count to 3 and then you set the hook. In most cases that will work for you, meaning you see that frog there, you see a nice blow up, you see a toilet bowl flush, meaning the bass sucks up your bass and your frog has disappeared. Yes, for the most part, if you count to 3, reel down and then set the hook, more than likely you will land that bass or stick that bass. I don't know about landing that bass, but you will stick it. But sometimes you need to be paying a little bit closer attention and have a better understanding of what the bass's mood is, because sometimes, for example, the bass will come and grab that frog, and by the time you go ahead and reel down and you count to 3 in your brain, he has spit that frog out and all you get is nothing but air. So you have to read the bass a little better and have a good understanding of what their moods are, because sometimes they're going to hit quickly and you got to set quickly. Sometimes they're in the mood to gulp it down and they'll hold on to it for a very long time, which you want that. But also you get some nice bass that are going to grab and spit very quickly. So you got to play it by ear when it comes to hook setting. And the last part that I'm going to cover in regards to hook set is, when it comes to frog fishing, we are talking about 2 very thick hooks. You need to set that frog hard, meaning you got to put your body into it. I'm not saying be very exaggerated where you fall off the boat, but you got to be very strong on that hook set. And the reason being, like I just showed you guys, is you got to drive these hooks deep into that mouth. And as you guys will know, bass or big bass have very bony structures. You got to really lean into them to draw those hooks into their mouths. Now, if you have stuck around the majority of this video, here are the two things that I want to share with you guys, are the two most important things. Today, for example, I'm going to share today's strategy. Today's strategy was you had to think shallow. What do I mean by that? In my shots, when I caught those nice bass, you had to notice that where I caught these fish were up along the bank in very shallow ledges. The fish weren't deep today, they weren't suspended today, they were hunkered down in very shallow areas, and that's where I focus my attention on. And number two, the number one modification that I do on my hollow body frogs, and you're going to hear it right here. That's right, the number one modification that I do to my hollow body frogs is that I insert a rattle. And let me tell you, I learned this a long time ago, many years ago, and I found that with this rattle, it just adds another component to the fishing. And it helps those bass to hone in on where that frog is, especially in low light conditions with that little rattle. And I tell you, man, sometimes you just barely move that frog and that rattle just clicks or bangs along the hook in here, and all of a sudden that bass just crushes that freaking frog, and it's so fun. I know other people do other types of modifications, like they go ahead and cut a 1/4 inch off the tail, or they go ahead and open up the hooks and stuff like that for better hook penetration. I don't do any of those things. Reason for it is because if you got to cut the tail off a frog to help you walk better, that means your technique has to be reevaluated. And number two, I don't like opening the hooks on a frog because I fish in very thick vegetation. Opening the hooks is going to yield itself for you to get hung up a lot more. And trust me, it's tough enough as it is to land a bass in thick cover, but dealing with vegetation stuck on your hook because I opened the hooks, it doesn't work for me. So I don't do those type of modifications. The only modifications that I do when it comes to a frog is that I put a nice rattle inside. So there you guys have it. Frog fishing out here in the Everglades during the summertime. Yes, it can be very challenging, but man, oh man, can be extremely rewarding. I appreciate you guys for taking the time for watching this video. Like this video, share this video, better yet, subscribe. The channel is growing. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers. So if you found this video remotely helpful, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. We will really appreciate it. I will see you guys again soon. Take care of yourself.